So this wasn't on my list of things to do just yet, now that we've got the bike running, but I just want to put the chain on right now, just so we can spin the back wheel up a little bit. So let's put the chain back on. Okay, so the bike's all ready to run now. So I'm going to hold the front brake in while we do this test, because I don't want it taking off, and we'll see how it spins up. There we go. So it's all working now. I took that up to 100 kilometers an hour according to the speedo on the screen. I don't know how accurate that is. We'll work all that out further down the track. So, but there we go. The chain's running, back wheel spinning. So keep watching. So I thought, while I'm on a roll, I might actually test the DC-DC converter that's on the bike to charge the 12-volt battery that's on the bike. So I put in the 15 amp fuse into the fuse holder here, and it blew it. I went, uh-oh. so I tried another 15 amp fuse just in case the fuse was already had a problem, and it blew that. So it must draw some current on startup. So I've got 20 amp fuses that I purchased for the actual charger for the main batteries, and because it's charged at 15 amps, so I've got 20 amp fuses for that, and put that in, and it's working fine now. So it must pull a bit of current on startup, but as you can see, we got 13.8 volts coming out, which is what it says it should put out. And if I look at the, if I can get down to here, I'll turn the light off. There we go. You can see there's no current being drawn on the BMS, so it must be just a startup thing, and that blew the fuse. So never mind. We got the 20 amp fuse now, and it's switching on and off fine now. So all's good with that. All right, so we've got that kind of mounted at the moment. That's the DC-DC converter that charges the bike's battery. But I need some cable for it, which is actually on this charger, because I'm not using all the cables. So I'm going to mount this one in, so I know how much I'm going to be cutting off it, so I can reuse some of that cable to go from the DC-DC converter to the bike's battery. So let's get this mounted and installed, and then we can wire that up too, because we've got to get the main battery charged anyway. So yep, installing that on the bike now, so that we can work out how much cable we've got to play with. Alright, so I've got the charger mounted at the front of the battery box there now, and we've brought the charging cable up near the motor controller here. We've got a 240 volt power lead going down the side of the bike, and that lead I'm going to curl up underneath the rear seat. So what I want to do now is I want to be able to take the tank off. So I want to put a switch on the tank so that I can actually isolate the battery charger. Not that I think I have to, because I spoke to the suppliers and they said that's okay, just leave it connected. But I think I would like to have the option of being able to isolate the charger from the battery when it's not in use. So, so I'm going to use a couple of Anderson plugs to be able to take the tank off. If I want to take the tank off, because the switch will be mounted to the tank, I want to be able to take it off and unplug it if I need to do anything in here. So I'm going to fit the switch inside the tank where the fuel switch used to be, so that I'll be able to access it from the hole in the fairing where the fuel tap used to come through. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully it will all work well. So let's get started. Alrighty, so I'm using the excess cable from the main battery charger to connect to the DC-DC converter so that we can charge the battery on the bike. So I've got that connected down here. Now I've got to screw the converter on the side of the box. Obviously I don't want to go through the box, but if I do, only by a couple of mil. So I need to cut some screws down to about 10 mil so I can put the 4 screws in, and I think I'll just put some Loctite on them to hold them into place. So I'm going to cut some screws down and get that fitted. Alrighty, so I've got the DC-DC converter for the charging the bike batteries all bolted in now. So now we just need to finish it off at this end here. So we've got the cable here, and we've got a new fuse to put on it as well. So we'll hook that all up to the battery. Okay, so we use the excess cable from the main charger that charges the main batteries inside the bike to go from the DC-DC converter. We've now got it hooked up onto the battery, so we've got a fuse into the battery. We've currently got 12.61 volts on it, so if I turn the charger on, turning on a DC-DC converter now, and it's pushed up to 13.8. So there we go. So now that's while the bike's running, the battery is going to be charging the whole time. So since we don't have an alternator, we now have a DC-DC converter that does the job. Alright, so just running the charge cable now from the big charger for the main batteries, and I just put orange sleeve on it because I know everything that's high voltage is supposed to be orange, anything high voltage DC. So just to be on the safe side, even though it's a charge that goes in, it still is part of the system when you get up into the bike up here. So just to be safe, I've put an orange sleeve on it so that they can't turn around and go, that should be orange, because I don't think it matters if it is orange. It doesn't need to be. It definitely matters if it's not orange and they want it orange. So best to be safe than sorry. So I've put the sleeve over that black cable, and we'll run it up into the motor controller and around to the fuses. Alright, so we've got a bit of that done. We've got the orange sleeving on the charging wire, which comes up through here and goes off to the main neutral, and then the positive carries on. So we're going to go through this Anderson's plug, because at the end of the wire we're going to have this switch here, and then it goes back into the main fuse, which feeds directly then into the battery. So this will have a 20 amp fuse in it, so it charges at 15 amps, so I think that should be okay. And what this means is, because this will be fixed to the tank, when I take the tank off I can unplug it here. So I don't have to actually physically disconnect anything, I can just unplug it. And Anderson's plugs are pretty reliable, so we're going to give that a try. So the next thing will be to probably cut a hole in the tank. So keep watching. Alright, so the goal today is to mount this switch in this spot here. So I should be able to drill, if I can find the center point between these two screw holes, and drill a hole big enough for that to come through. And then it should be just a matter of grinding all of this stuff off the back, drilling the 4 mounting holes hopefully, and it should stay in position. All goes to plan. So we'll see how we go. Alright, so I've drilled a pilot hole right in the middle here, and I've got the 25mm hole saw, which will be the right size for the switch to go through. So hopefully it doesn't break out too much between these, so it'll guide the hole saw through. So we'll see what happens. Alright, so we've got the hole there for the switch. So the switch will go straight through there, but we just need to grind all these things here off the back here so it's nice and flat for the switch to sit hard against. So we'll get the grinder in there and cut those bits off, and we should be able to then mark the holes for the screws for the switch to mount on. Alright, so there we go, we got it all ground off nicely, so that came out pretty good. So I'm going to have to mount the switch that way. I was thinking that way, but it's going to get pretty close to this terminal gets pretty close to the box, so that'll make sure that we've got plenty of distance if I mount it that way up. And the other thing I've got to remember to do is put a bit of pipe on the end of that copper there, because that's the drain for around the filler. If it's raining, water will run through that pipe, and we want it to run out the bottom of the bike, not on top of all of our electrics. So we'll have to do that as well when we put it all together. But now we'll just put some screws into this switch and get it to go into place, and then we can look at wiring it up to that other Anderson's plug to complete the circuit for the charger. Alright, so it just happened that the screw holes lined up with the holes from the original tap. So two fixings will be enough. There's no pressure on this or anything. We'll Loctite it all in place and everything so it doesn't move. Just got to put it in the bike now to make sure we've got some clearance between the terminals and the battery box. So we'll do that now. Alright, so we can see just kind of see the switch down the bottom there, so there's plenty of clearance between the box and the switch terminals, so we can go forward with connecting it up. Alrighty, so we've got the lead on there now, going to the switch, and the switch fits through. Obviously we're going to tidy all that up, and now we should be able to plug it onto that and actually maybe test the charger. What a good idea. So I'll need to put a 20 amp fuse in. Okay, so here we go, this is a big test. So at the moment the charger is turned off. The BMS is off also. Doesn't matter if it's on or off, it'll automatically start when the charger starts. We have got the isolator switch in the on position. So if I turn the power on to the charger, it is now starting up. You just hear the beeping from the BMS, so the BMS has started because it's recognised it's trying to get a charge. Now the charger's looking to see what the voltage and everything is before it starts pouring current into the batteries. It started up and we are running at 14.7 amps charge, or 14.9, so they'll go up and down a bit. So there we go, so that is all running now, which is probably that's the last thing we had to do. Now we just need to tidy it all up. Keep watching. Okay, so here it is fully functioning now. So all the systems are functioning, all the chargers are connected. So we've got the DC-DC converter charger that charges the bike. We've got the main charger fitted on the front that charges the main battery. All the systems are up and running. Everything's functioning correctly. So the next job now is to open her up and make sure every cable and everything is tied in correctly, so there's no sharp objects around the tank that can rub on anything. So now we're just going through, tidying up and assembling it correctly and tightening everything up for the final time. So keep watching. Alrighty, so we've tidied up the cables coming up, and tied them up inside that go to the BMS unit, and we've siliconed that into place, and we've also put some rubber along the front edge here, because when the front fairing was on you could actually see the wires, so that'll cover that up. Now I think we can put the front fairing on. Alrighty, so there we go. So we've got a cover now. Instead of having just a heat shrink on the copper bar that connected contactors 1 and 2, we've now got the proper silicone covers over the nuts, so the nuts and everything are covered now, so there's no exposed connections, which is what we wanted. So that's looking a lot better. Alright, so I've got everything all nicely tied up now, so nothing can move or wriggle around, which is so nothing's going to come loose. The only problem I had when I tried to put a tank on, I'm catching just here, so I'm going to have to move this cable in further. So I'll move another catch. Like this one, I'll move this one into there, and that should, with the cable just in a little bit, that solves the problem. So we'll move that in and try putting the tank on again. So the paint on the inside the tank's all dry now. So I've put on some edge protection because we had cut this out before. We'll put some edge protection right around so there's no sharp edges when we run our fingers in it, and it also protects any of the cables or anything from rubbing up against it. Even though all the cabs are pretty clear of it anyway. It just gives it that little bit more protection. So we'll put it on the bike and see if it fits on. As you can see, the tank is now back on the bike. So that just drops straight in. It's not touching anything. It's got the edge protection on the inside of the tank where we've cut all the metal out, so nothing can rub on any sharp edges. So that's all done underneath the tank now. It's all the cables are tied up. So I think we can go ahead now and actually start putting the rest of the bike back together. So keep watching. Alrighty, so the bike is all but completed as far as all the wiring, motors, controllers, chargers. Everything's operational. The bike itself is fully operational. I could jump on this bike right now and ride it up the road. So it's ready to roll. So the next step is to now start putting all the fairing and all the covers on everything. Taking lots of videos and photos as proof. So I think we might start from the front of the bike and work our way back. So we'll start with the front fairing, and then it'll be tidying up the wiring and everything like that as all the covers go down, to try and hide as much as possible so it looks nice and clean when it's completed. And yeah, until we get to the very back and every piece of fairing is on it. So let's get started with the front fairing.